This chaotic mess of scrap wood has been haunting my shop for years. I use scrap wood for my projects constantly, and it's an important resource in my shop. But this scrap cart I made a few years back just takes up too much valuable shop space, is an eyesore, and is just too unorganized. So I decided to tear it down and start from scratch on a new design. One that takes advantage of unused space I already have in my shop that's not going to get used for anything else. And the result? Honestly, I wish I did this years ago. Now my scrap wood is better organized, has a storage system I don't mind looking at, and most importantly, utilizes less valuable shop real estate. So stick around because I'm about to show you a storage system that actually works, guaranteed. The first thing I'm going to do is go through my scrap wood bin and get rid of scraps that for some ungodly reason I've been keeping around for years. We all do it. Hang on to every single piece of scrap wood that we've ever created in the hopes that it's going to get used at some point. But guess what? It doesn't, and you just waste shop space. Clear out the stuff that is cheap to replace, like a 1-foot section of an old 2x4, and the stuff that is just too big to store, like 30 extra sheets of OSB from a prior shed build, for example. Now that I'm down to the scrap lumber that will get used, it's time to get to work on designing a new storage system. The first thing I did was take a close look at my shop and decide where the best place for this new storage area would be. I ultimately landed on underneath my CNC machine. It's space that is not currently being utilized, and it's not prime time shop real estate.
These biggest places are prime real estate.
This CNC machine has two great areas for me to use for this scrap wood storage system. First, in the back, I can create a system for storing smaller scrap pieces. I plan to design a cubby-like system for this. Then under the main body, I can design a unit that will let me store longer pieces. For the cubby system, I envision being able to store scraps according to wood species, so I want plenty of cubbies. Luckily, the space I have to work with under here is 50 inches wide by 33 inches tall by 16.5 inches deep, like it was designed for cubbies. To do my design work, I use SketchUp. It's such a great tool for letting you lay out a project and get all the measurements correct before you get cutting. You can create build plans, cutting lists, and so many more things with SketchUp. This design gives me 15 cubbies, plenty of room to store all my scraps that are under 16 inches and custom built for this space. It's disturbing how excited I get about shop organization projects. For the larger storage unit, there are some brackets underneath the CNC that prevent me from creating a nice square frame. So I'm going to have to get a little fancy with angles here. Essentially, I'm creating cubbies again, but this time they're going to be 4 feet deep and open on both ends to allow me to access the wood from both sides of the CNC machine and store longer pieces. I'm going to be utilizing my CNC machine to cut my parts for this project.
Good boy!
Using my CNC allows me to basically have a second worker cutting all my parts while I do other stuff. And the best part is I can trust them to be accurate and not mess up cuts, as long as the guy designing the project and uploading it to the software isn't a moron, of course. Highly questionable. So once the design is all set in SketchUp, I transfer my cut list to my CAD software, which is Vectric. I'm sure there's a program out there that will allow me to do this automatically, but I like to do this manually so I can double check my measurements and make sure they're all correct. This part is probably the most tedious because it requires math, which frankly hurts my brain.
Ouch!
But once I get it laid out in VCarve, setting the toolpaths is easy. I use a .250 compression bit to make the through cuts for my parts and for the 0.25-inch deep dados. So I can create both toolpaths and save them to one file that I can then upload to the CAM software, which is controlling the CNC. Now it's time to cut out my parts. I could watch this thing go all day. Yeah, I gotta tell you, the CNC life can be hard sometimes. It really is back-breaking work. Man. The only cuts I don't use the CNC for are the dados on one side of my middle dividers. This is because there are dados on both sides of these, and I can only cut out the dados on one side with my CNC. So I'll take those pieces off the CNC and add dados on the back side with my table saw and palm router. Easy cheesy.
I started this woodworking journey after returning home from a deployment, utilizing the craft to channel anxiety into creativity. And now I'm here to help you do the same. Whether you're brand new or a seasoned maker, my goal is to give you the confidence, inspiration, and real-world knowledge to build things you're proud to put your name on. Please subscribe for weekly content on woodworking skills, project walkthroughs, tool reviews, CNC work, and much more. Drop a comment with how you store your scrap lumber. Let's swap ideas and make every inch of our shops count. If this video spoke to you, please like this video and join a community where progress is greater than perfection and passion fuels the craft.
Assembly time. I love using lots of dados. It makes things fit together nicely, kind of like you're putting together a puzzle.
Puzzles.
The only thing I didn't use dados for on this is the outer frames. For that, I'm using my Fez Tool Domino. The Domino is definitely an investment at $1,500, but I gotta tell you, this thing worked great, and I've used it on so many projects, it's definitely a worthwhile investment for me. I don't know about you all, but glue-ups are always my least favorite part of the build process. It doesn't seem to matter how much forethought I put in to doing this glue-up, I'm still running around like an idiot when I go to do the actual glue-up. Something always doesn't fit quite like you thought it would, and then you're scrambling to get it right before the glue dries. Stressful. Now's the fun part. I get to take all my unorganized and chaotic scraps and neatly store them according to species. I have a place for my shorts and a place for my longer pieces. This is the best part of shop organization projects, is putting everything back together. It's definitely wood porn.
enjoyed this video, please check out this video that has a tour of my shop to get other organization tips and ideas.